大家好，我是台中科大语言中心苏代师, and this is another English story time. Welcome back, everyone. So glad to have you here again today. The name of today's story is Robinson Crusoe. This is a story about a young man who has a thirst for adventure on the high seas, and in the story we hear about many of the things that happen to him in his travels. I don't want to tell you too much and spoil the story for you, so let's go ahead and get started, okay? Before we listen to the story, we'll hear some vocabulary. Please feel free to listen and repeat if you'd like, and take a look at the Chinese definition on your screen as well. Then we'll take a listen to our story, and afterwards we'll have some comprehension questions to see what you've understood. I hope you enjoy. Okay, to start with, some vocabulary. Here we go. Defiant, disobey, pirate, rescue, voyage, plantation, companion, bounce, frantically, raging, stun. Shipwreck, pottery, company, astonish, enemy, scattered, cannibal, victim, savage, feast, launch, daring, Spaniard, captive, mutiny, outnumber, split up, defeat, regain. Okay. So that's the end of our vocabulary that we'll hear. There's 30 words in our vocabulary list today. I hope you found that helpful, and I hope it increases your understanding of our story as you listen. So let's get started, shall we? Robinson Crusoe is quite the defiant young man. Looking for adventures on the high seas, he disobeys his parents and sails away from his home in London, in England. It turns out that the young Crusoe may be brave, but he isn't such a lucky sailor. Little does he know he is setting off on the adventure of a lifetime. The first ship he joins is captured by pirates, and Crusoe becomes their prisoner. Fortunately, he makes a brave escape and is rescued by a ship on its way to Brazil. He finds better luck on this voyage. The ship lands in Brazil, and with the help of the ship's captain, Crusoe buys a sugar plantation there. When Crusoe sails out again to bring back slaves for his new plantation, his bad luck at sea returns. A terrible storm strikes the ship. The passengers crawl into boats to escape to an island. Crusoe keeps his eyes on his companions as they bounce around in the rough ocean until a giant wave crashes over them. He looks around frantically, but he finds he is all alone on the raging ocean. Stunned and beaten, he washes up on a tiny island. He drops to his knees and thanks God for saving him. Exhausted, he curls up in a tree and falls fast asleep. Crusoe rescues valuable tools from the shipwreck and builds a home to protect himself from wild animals. Over time, he learns to hunt, grow crops, raise goats, and make pottery. He even builds a summer home on the other side of the island. The only thing he is missing is the company of others. So Crusoe turns to the Bible. He realizes he's done many bad things in his life, like disobeying his parents. He has spent 15 years alone on the island when one day he discovers a human footprint. Crusoe is astonished. Where did this footprint come from? Is there a friend? Is it from a friend or an enemy? Questions keep Crusoe awake at night until he finds human bones scattered on the seashore. He doesn't wonder if the footprint belongs to a friend anymore. The visitor to his island is a cannibal. Sometime later, the cannibals and their victims land on shore for another savage feast. Crusoe saves one of them and names him Friday, for the day of the week Crusoe found him. At long last, our lonely Crusoe isn't alone anymore. Crusoe teaches Friday to speak English and about the Bible. Together, they begin building a boat and planning how to get off the island. The cannibals return, and Crusoe and Friday launch a daring attack, rescuing two men. One is a Spaniard, and the other, in a strange twist of fate, is Friday's father. The Spaniard tells Crusoe of 16 companions still held captive. Crusoe gives up his boat so the Spaniard and Friday's father can rescue the men. While waiting for their return, Crusoe and Friday see another ship and believe it is their chance to go home. But there's been a mutiny on board. The crew members force the captain on shore, planning to leave him on Crusoe's island. Crusoe and Friday spring to action. They are outnumbered, so they trick the crew. They shout from different places across the island, causing the sailors to become confused and split up. Crusoe and Friday defeat them one by one, regain control of the ship, and sail back to England. Our tale has a happy ending for now. Our tale has a happy ending for the now not so young Crusoe. He discovers that his plantation in Brazil was cared for while he was gone, leaving him a rich man. Back in England, Crusoe marries and has 3 children. And as our story closes, Crusoe, now in the twilight of his life, sails back to his island home. Always in search of new adventures, he just can't resist one last defiant look. All right, that's our story about Robinson Crusoe. Let's now listen to a few comprehension questions and see what you can remember. Number 1, what does he learn to do while living on the island? A, read the Bible. B, raise goats. C, run a sugar plantation. Or D, disobey his parents. What does he learn to do living on the island? Think carefully. Okay, if you chose B, raise goats, you are correct. Let's listen to number 2. How long had Crusoe been on the island when he discovered a footprint? A, 5 days. B, 15 months. C, 5 years. Or D, 15 years. I'll give you a hint. It's not 5 days and it's not 15 months. If you guessed D, 15 years, you are correct. Good job. Let's listen to number 3. Who had made the footprint? A sailor from Crusoe's boat. B, Crusoe. C, a sailor from a rescue boat. Or D, a cannibal from a nearby island. Okay, take a moment, think about your answer. Okay, if you said the answer was D, a cannibal from a nearby island who made the footprint on Crusoe's island, you would be correct. D, the cannibal made the footprint. Okay, number 4, our last question here. How does Crusoe escape the island? A, he is saved by Friday's father. B, a search party finally discovers him. C, he defeats the crew of a ship and takes control. Or D, He builds his own raft and sails away. Okay, again, the question is, how did Crusoe escape the island? Eventually go back to Brazil and India. If you chose C, he defeats the crew of a ship and takes control, you would be correct. Well done. All right, that brings our story to a close for today. Again, thanks for coming and thanks for listening. I hope it's been helpful to you. Please come again next time for another English story time. And in the meantime, 再见.